Okay, so a square root looks like this. Okay, it looks like this. And realistically, we know what number is on the outside. 2. Okay, there's really a 2 here. This is the opposite as x squared. Okay, essentially they cancel each other. So you know how like multiply and divide cancel each other out? Okay, addition and subtraction go together. Squared and square root go together. Okay, if there was a 3 here, okay, then this would be a cubed. Okay, if there's a 4 here, then there's a 4 here. Okay, that's how they cancel each other. So I'll ask you this. When I'm talking about is the square root by itself, I'm talking about the side of the equal sign with the square root. So is that square root by itself? Yes, so then we can go ahead and square both sides in order to solve this. So you're going to say squared, squared. Okay, and what happens here is the squared and the square root cancel each other out. Okay, well, what is 0 squared? Huh? What is 0 squared? Type on your calculator, it's 0. Okay, so you're going to get 0 equals, what do we have left on this side?
R.
Just R. Okay, the squared and the square root cancel each other. So R equals 0. That's it for this one. Okay, look at 3. Is the square root by itself? Yes, so we can square, square. What happens to these ones? They cancel out. Okay, what is 4 squared?
8.
Use your calculators. Okay, on your calculator you type in 4.
2.
And then there's a squared button, or if you need it, there's an empty box button, and hit equals. It is 16. If you're getting 2, you're typing in the square root, not squared. Jermaine, since you brought it up, come on. Let's go. Well, I'm sorry, but you've been saying that for 2 weeks straight, so I don't have any more sympathy for you. Okay, 5. Is the square root by itself? Okay, so look at number 7 versus number 5, because there's a difference. So 7, see how that 2 is on the outside of that square root? That's what I'm talking about. So you can't do anything inside the square root until you get rid of it, okay? So your first step is going to be to square both sides. Okay, and this cancels the house and that square root. So on the left side, what is 5 squared? 25. On the right side, what are we left with?
X plus 3.
X plus 3. Okay, now, how do we solve for x? What needs moved? The 3 needs moved, so how do I move a plus 3? Minus 3. If I do it to one side, I gotta do it to the other side. Okay, what is 25 minus 3? 22 equals x, okay, and these ones had canceled out. Okay, 7. Is there stuff outside the square root? Yes, so then that means that that needs moved first before you can square it. So how do I move a minus 2?
Plus 2.
So our first step is going to be to say plus 2. Plus 2. Okay, on the left, what are we going to have? 4 equals a square root of a. Now, is the square root by itself? Yes, so now what do we do? Put square root on both sides. Okay, so this is going to cancel. So what is 4 squared? 16 equals a. Okay, number 9. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? What? The 1. Okay, so how do I move a minus 1? Plus 1 to both sides. What is 0 plus 1? 1 equals square root of x minus 5. Okay, now, is the square root by itself? Yes. Okay, when I'm talking about is it by itself, that means like this stuff belongs to the house, okay? It belongs to the square root. So anything that's on the outside, underneath, or on the side of that house needs moved before you can do anything else. Okay, so now we can go ahead and square both sides. What is 1 squared? 1 equals x minus 5. Now what?
Let's try to add 5 to both sides.
Add 5 to both sides. 6 equals x. Good.
Wait, so for like number 8, you gotta take a fraction.
You would square them first, and then times it by 2. And I think there's one of them on here. If not, I'll go back and do it. Okay, look at 11. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? Yes, what is it? The plus 1. How to move a plus 1? Minus 1, minus 1. So I got a square root of x equals what? 4. Now, is the square root by itself? Yes, so what do we do? Yep, so we're going to say squared and squared. We're going to get x equals 16. Okay, if you're not on it, get on it. 13. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? What? That minus 2, okay? So, see how it's sitting next underneath that square root? That means times, so what do we need to do? Division, okay? That's how I get rid of it. So we're going to say divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Okay, these are going to cancel. What is negative 2 divided by negative 2?
Positive
1. 1 equals square root of v plus 1. Is the square root by itself?
1.
Yes. Okay, now what do we need to do? Square them on both sides. 1 squared.
1.
1 equals v plus 1. Minus 1 from both sides. What is 1 minus 1? 0 equals v. Okay, 15. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? What is it? Minus 4. How do I move a minus 4? Plus 4. So we only divide if it's like sitting next to it with no like plus or minus sign, okay? So we're going to say plus 4 on both sides. Negative 2 plus 4. 2 equals square root of x minus 4. Now what? Square both sides. Okay, so we're going to get 4 equals x minus 4. Then what?
Add 4 to both sides.
8 equals x. Good. $17. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? What?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. How do I move it?
Add 4.
Add 4. Add 4. So we're going to get square root of r equals 3. Huh? Square both sides. There you get r equals 9. $19. Minus 2 from both sides. 1 equals square root of n. Square both sides. So you get 1 equals n. Okay, would you like me to do number 16 or number 8? 16? Okay, look at 16. Is there stuff on the outside of the square root? What? That minus 5. So, how do I move a minus 5? add 5, add 5. Okay, so negative 4 plus 5, 1 equals the square root of r over 5. Okay, now, is the square root by itself?
Yes.
Yes, so we're gonna do what?
Square root.
Square both sides. So 1 squared, 1 equals r over 5. Then what? What does that mean, r over 5? It means divide, so we need to do what? Times by 5 on both sides. So 5 times 1, 5 equals r.